Take your seats and we'll make a start. Welcome to Gunnersbury. Acts 2 verse 17 says this. It shall be, God declares, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. The spirit, and I think that's spirit is a word in a different sense of a song. Come, thou fount of every blessing. Screen. It's by Robert Robinson, and it was actually written for Pentecost at his church. And I don't know if you can see in that first verse, Pentecost. Recognize anything? Flaming tongues, yeah. That's how you make, isn't it? I always wondered about that, but actually, maybe it's a reference to that. And then go to verse 3 as well, please. Thanks, guys. Right here. Yeah. Oh, Nigel, you're on. Yeah. Nigel gets 10 Pharisee. Yeah, I think the Ephesians 1 sealing. So he's clearly giving us and praying that life would be a spirit-filled life rather than a wandering, sinful life, as he refers to a couple of times here. So why don't I pray? Pray this would be a song that we would delight to sing, and that most of all we would understand what it is to walk by the Spirit. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the pouring on all flesh. Thank you. Thank you that that's so clear from the book of Acts. Thank you for the work of your Spirit, the sealing of your Spirit as well, the way that you give him to us as that down payment. We thank you for the reality of the Holy Spirit. And sing. Father, our hearts do very much echo, though that our hearts are the same as Robinson's. They want that does what we can't do, that keeps us close. May your Spirit be our guide in all things, we pray. In Jesus' name. Welcome to any who joined in that first song. A moment, but little note from the bulletin. Central prayer meeting takes place at 8 o'clock, first month, where we meet together. Michael's from Ecclesiastes will be our last from Michael. He heads off on to be praying for his family. So, for example, this week, Thursday, Michael, you're going to Belgium. So you could be Michael this morning. He'll be his brother-in-law, pastor near Liège in Belgium. Come back and preach in French if you want. And also doing a prison. Is that right? You were speaking at the prison as well. Yeah. We've got more to that, so that's 2 weeks' time, just under 2 weeks' time. We're opening up booking, but if you want to just book tickets, you haven't got someone you're bringing along, but you want to come along and see what it's like, then we're opening that more widely from tonight. Change, that would just be a big more widely up this weekend. Want to know more about kids. I think they're the things I want to. We did mention next is the coronation, and class are planning to be here to watch the coronation, and welcome others to come along to that. I think we're okay showing it. Did have a chat. That's probably an opportunity to do so. We'll be later on. Around be diving into Peter next, take us through the summer.
Thanks, Tim. Well, it's hard to keep going, isn't it, when things feel pointless? Have you ever felt like that? Like you're putting in who they are never pleased to praise or any recognition. Trying to advise somebody maybe who will not listen to advice, no matter what. And maybe they'll sort of pretend their actions that just went in one ear. Exam when you know you can't get the result that you need. That really feels pointless, doesn't it? When things feel pointless, it's hard to keep going. It's hard to trust that it's worth still trying to do. In the book of lots of things that do feel the preacher in Ecclesiastes is about different areas of life. And that's pointless. To spend loads of time investigating, really doing I think Tim said that anything in its exploration was a deep dive. The preacher that was this morning's sermon has done a proper deep dive and says loads of It's vanity, chasing after the wind. Again and again and again. He's talked recently about wisdom as being this is so valuable. It's elusive and deepest version of it. To be honest, yeah, stuff in life is pointless. But there are still things worth trusting in. And as a reminder, if you've not been with us in our series in Ecclesiastes, we tend to alternate. The preacher tends to alternate between is all there is. This is life, but there is also God. And the writer seems to be those two, doesn't he? As we read through the whole book, he seems to be, sometimes he's under the sun, everything's kind of pointless. Sometimes like, no, there's still stuff to trust in. There's still reasons to keep going. Isn't that what your week has been like? In between, I know. And so then, in that balance between those two, tonight he gives reasons. Okay, lots feels pointless, but here are some things. Verse on page 5. Please do get your Bible. I'll read it in a few minutes. All pointless, just worth trying. As I read through, try to what those things might be. 8 verse 1. Who is like the wise? Whose interpretation? A man's his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed. I say, keep the king's command, because of God's oath. Be not hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand in an evil cause, for he does whatever he pleases. For he is supreme, and who may say to him, what are you doing? Whoever keeps a command will know no evil thing, and the wise heart will know the proper time and the just way. But there is a time and a way for every. No man has power to the day from war, nor will wickedness deliver those observed while applying my heart under the sun, man over man to his hurt. Sentence against an evil deed executed speedily, do evil. Though I know those who fear God, because they fear before him. Well, will he? Because he before God. There is a vanity that takes that there are right according to the deeds of the right. I said there is vanity, and I commend for man son but to eat and be joyful, for this will go with him in his toil through the days of his life that God has given him under the sun. When I applied wisdom and to the sun on earth, day nor night do one sleep. So all the work of God, that man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. However much man may toil in seeking, he will not find out. Even though a wise man claims to know, he cannot find it out. Let's pray. Let's ask for God's help as we look at that passage, shall we? Father, help us with this. Father, give us at this time would be pleasing to you. In the midst is to go through these things as we come through. Trust, first of all, that it is right to seek authority. Trust that justice will be served in the long run. And trust that there is always reason to be joyful. Let's just go through it. As we go through the passage, we'll see it. The first thing we see here is the preacher seems to say that In the midst of lots of things being pointless, it is still right to submit to authority. The right thing. Feels like a little bit of an aside. It could easily be with the previous passage. It speaks of the sort of reliable kind of right face. That's the difference that wisdom makes. Deeply valuable, it's deeply elusive. And then we have something quite rare in the book of Ecclesiastes, a direct imperative. There are many of those, but the preacher says, but I say, the king, actually, no, God's oath to him, because God's to the king. At this point in the Bible, God has made some pretty big promises to the king. Remember the preacher, we saw early on, the preacher speaks with the king in Jerusalem. There weren't that many in Jerusalem before the second exile came along. So this is a king that carries a Davidic promise. So if you think about what this is talking about, and it talks about God's oath to the king, it's a pretty significant thing. So remember that God has made an eternal promise of an eternal line to a king here. That's the kind of king who doesn't stop and just have rebellion, mockery as a setting. The language could be translated rather than the oath that God has made to the king. It could also be translated as keep the command because of the oath people have made to God to obey the king. The language, who has made God made the oath to the king, or was it people made the oath to God about the king? Either way, God's involved. Either way, the reason that you keep the command is not because of who the king is. Either way, we obey is not because of who, because of who is appointed. Seeing some, but I think when people protest, not my weather. Like, it doesn't make any difference. It's